And good morning. I'm Don Browne from LaBelle, Florida, doing another one of our weekly Sunday morning broadcasts on YouTube and YouTube Live and Google Plus Hangouts on air on the subject of ancient wisdom and guide to harness success, health, and happiness, as Dr. Mao is pointing out in his latest book. Myself and several others received some advanced copies of Dr. Mao's book, Live Your Ultimate Life, and have reviewed it in past months. And a few of us thought we'd do a little broadcast every Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern Time, just to kind of talk about the philosophy of Chinese medicine and ancient wisdom that came originally from thousands of years ago from the I Ching, the Book of Changes. And specifically this particular book by Dr. Mao Shing Ni is about the 5 element personalities in traditional Chinese medicine and Chinese thought. There are 5 different types of personalities, to just give you, which gives you just a broad outline of how you could categorize personalities. And then along with those differing personalities, you will have different health concerns and things you should or should not eat. Your mental processes are described according to those personalities. And you can take a short little test online to see which of those personalities you are. And that link is listed on the commentary on this particular broadcast on YouTube or on Google Plus Hangouts. So take a look at that test. It only takes a few minutes to take the test. And you can see whether you are the wood element, which is kind of like the type A personality, earth element, kind of the nurturing personality, a fire element, kind of just speaks for itself, kind of fiery personality. Water element, considered like a wise type personality or a teacher type. And metal type is kind of like a very orderly type, maybe like even an OCD type personality where you want to list everything and take things in order and so forth. So take that test. And today we thought we'd talk about food and healthy living, generally speaking. And in one of the sections of the book here called Physical Health, he starts out with a M. Scott Peck quote, says, "We know a great deal more about the causes of physical disease than we know about the causes of physical health." So in a way, it's kind of an interesting take on that we know about the bad things that happen. If you get sick or you're in the hospital, we figured out things you can do after you become sick, but we don't talk so much about the causes of health, which is kind of a weird phrase if you think about it, the causes of health. What causes health? Well, in traditional Chinese thought over the many millennium, it's thought that if you live your life and think in a natural, in quotes, way, you'll prevent sickness and disease. And of course, many centuries and millennia ago, you didn't have much choice. We didn't have advanced science and medicine back in those days, so you couldn't just go down to the drugstore and get a pill. Couldn't go to the hospital and get a surgeon to manipulate your internal organs or your body. So you had to rely on the so-called natural ways of living, which is, if you think about it, kind of a common sense thing. Just think about how your great-grandmother might have lived back on the farm, when most people, in fact, lived on a farm. So A doctor, if there was one, was many miles away. Obviously, there weren't any drugstores in your little farming community, probably. So you had to rely on just kind of common sense things to do. You tried to not be stressed. I'm not sure if stress was a big word back in those days. It certainly is nowadays, isn't it, though? Back in great grandmother's day, I bet you stress didn't come up too much because people were, were living out in nature. You ate food that came right off of the farm or your neighbor's farm. You didn't have a 9-to-5 job where you had to punch a clock, although you did have a lot of work on the farm, that's for sure. So anyway, so it's an interesting idea to think about the causes of health. What causes.
Hi.
Hey, Brooke, good morning to you.
Morning to you.
And I started a little bit a few minutes ago, and I'm talking about the physical health. You had mentioned last week maybe get into something about the things we eat and so forth for physical health. So I started out on page 117 of Dr. Mao's book with the talking about M. Scott Peck's quote about we know more about the physical.
You said 117?
Yeah. He mentions that we know more about the causes of physical disease than we know about the causes of physical health. So it's kind of a turnaround that we don't really think about how to be healthy. We think about, well, what do we do if we get sick? And we don't think too much about health until we do get sick. so it's an interesting thing. Okay, and then if you go over to 118, Brooke, you want to read that about how we are responsible for our own health?
Sure. Excuse me. So it says comprehensive physical health means being disease-free as well as having abundant energy and vitality. We take our health for granted until something goes wrong. Illness can guide us to change our life habits for the better, but this is not a pleasant way of being reminded. If we can focus on learning how to take care of our bodies and understanding the integral function of body, mind, and spirit, then we can restore ourselves with innate healing power or prevent illness before it occurs. The basics to improving physical health and preventing illness include a balanced diet, a healthy nutrition, good sleep, plenty of rest, appropriate exercise, and a clean environment, and the use of herbal supplements to support, for elemental support and healing. You are responsible for your own health and you can make a difference.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I've been fortunate, Brooke, that I haven't had to be treated by a medical doctor since since I was a teenager. I think the last thing I think I went to a doctor for, I was probably in high school or junior high, and I had a stiff neck. And I remember getting a B something shot or something. That's the last time I've actually been treated by a doctor. So I've been very lucky, and that is quite unusual. So I can't claim that everybody's going to have such a good history. But looking at Dr. Ni's suggestion, or Dr. Mao's suggestions, he says the basics to improving physical health and preventing illness: balanced diet and healthy nutrition. And as far as I can remember, my mother fed us healthy meals. Once in a while. I mean, very rarely they'd go out and get a pizza or go to a chicken place and get a bucket of chicken. But on the whole, me and my two brothers and mother and father ate pretty healthy meals. I had plenty of sleep. I never remember having trouble sleeping. I think I rarely had to set an alarm clock even. I think I kind of woke up pretty much when I needed to wake up, to go to school or go to work. Appropriate exercise. I'm not sure I was, I did, the typical schoolyard sports and stuff and a few sports teams, pretty much average for any kind of a kid. But then when I got to be about 21, I realized, well, maybe a little earlier, maybe 20 or 19, I realized I really needed to keep up some active sports. So I started doing jogging. I did that for years and years. So just by chance, I got appropriate exercise, a clean environment. I lived in Columbus, Ohio, which is a, fairly moderate town with a lot of pollution or anything.
Uh-huh.
And now the only thing I did not use, Brooke, is herbal supplements.
Oh,
I didn't even know there was such a thing, in my early years. I wasn't really a frequenter of, back in those days, the health food stores is about the only place you could get minerals and supplements and all that stuff. So I never did that.
oh, it was not very popular back then.
Yeah. And not a commercial, but Dr. Mao has sent me, and I think you too, Brooke, some samples. Well, actually, not really a sample, but some supplements. This one particularly is called the 5 Elements of Health, which is reading from the back here. A nourishing blend of more than 41 herbs to support the traditional 5 elements and their functions in Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
And just to summarize for folks watching along, the 5 elements, the first one is wood. And these particular herbs moderate your liver, nervous system, and detox. For the fire personality, they moderate the heart, brain, and circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Earth, the stomach, digestion, and metabolism. Metal, your lung function and immunity.
Mm-hmm.
And water, which is what I am, works on your kidneys, adrenal, and hormone balance. So that's actually there are 41 herbs in this particular thing. They all came from China and put together, I think, by Dr. Mao's group there in California. And I've been taking them for, I don't know, a month, I guess, or maybe a little less than that. I have to frankly say I haven't noticed any difference. But a friend of mine says they have, but I don't know if it works that quickly or not.
Well, you just sound like you're super healthy.
Well, like I said, I've been fortunate. I'm kind of like on the bell curve. I'm way at the end where I haven't had to see a medical doctor. Now, I have had to see a dentist quite a lot over the years. Oh. And in fact, I read in one of the Dr. Mao's things, I couldn't find it, but it's in there somewhere, that says my water personality has trouble with teeth. And it certainly is true. Hmm. And of course, again, it's on that bell curve at the end. Some people have no trouble with their teeth. I have a lot. Some people have trouble, have to go to the doctor for this and that, and I have not. So you just go with your chances. But, theoretically, if we had known this stuff years ago and had taken, the ancient Chinese advice, perhaps I wouldn't have had medical or dental problems, and other people wouldn't have had medical problems. I don't know.
No, I completely agree with that. It's kind of funny. I guess I have the strangest life story. My mother was way before her time. I think I've mentioned before that I think my mother's the one that introduced me to Taoism without really just telling me what it was. My mom was into herbal supplements and vitamins and being healthy. She used to drive my father crazy trying to find health food stores way back in the 80s, which was very difficult. I remember one time we lived in New Mexico, my mom would drive, way out of the Sandias trying to find a place, and she'd spend hundreds of dollars, but she would make me drink brewer's yeast and all sorts of these horrible things that she'd make me take. And of course, now I realize, that she was very, very intelligent for it. I just didn't like the way they all tasted.
Now that you mentioned it, I think I took back in my 20s brewer's yeast. I think I got that from reading I can't remember that famous lady's name that wrote books back in the 60s and 70s, but she had recommended that. So I started taking it back then, but that probably was one of the few things I
Oh
started
yeah.
taking.
Oh my gosh, you name it, I have tried it. I grew up very athletic. If anything, I found it funny that I got the water sign because by my life, I would always consider myself fire, and I'm not very much fire at all, actually. Um, I was a competitive swimmer for 25 years. I've run, played sports, you name everything. I'm always out on the go. I love being outside. Um, Constantly trying to keep myself healthy. I had periods when I was a kid where I ate garbage, I guess like every kid. But I've always been a morning person. Like you, I rarely needed an alarm clock. I wanted to be in the Air Force, and I'm such a self-propelled person. I would train myself. I never needed other people to guide me. But I had then on the other side, I mean, I would consider myself very healthy. Every time doctors take my blood work, they say people would kill for my blood work. I have low blood pressure, low cholesterol, all of that. But I have had quite a bit of medical experiences throughout my life. And I wish I had known some of this stuff, and I think my life would have been a little less bumpy medically if I had
Hmm.
had Dr. Mao's book. Like you talk about, I lost my gallbladder 3 years ago. Had all sorts of, I've had like, I think at least 4 surgeries, different parts of my body, maybe because at a certain point I was too fiery and I pushed myself too far. And I guess those kinds of things. So,
Yeah, I thought we might just look over some of the advice Dr. Mao's given on the various elements. I was
No,
looking
yeah, I think that's
for,
great.
yeah, for example, like the fire element on page 129. Well, of course, he always gives you a little explanation about, what the fire element is and how it relates
Yeah.
to your physical body and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then he gives you solutions. This page he calls them energizing solutions.
Yep.
So, so if you're a fire element, you should do, he says, 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, fast walking, biking, running, and so forth, 4 times a week.
yep.
Yep. And then he suggests take the fire element herbal formula
Mm-hmm.
to support the heart energy and cut
Yep.
out animal fats. In fact, I just noticed that he says cut out all animal fats and
Yep.
add olive oil, hemp oil, and flaxseed into your diet, and lose weight and keep your BMI below 25. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of
I
watching my BMI for years,
Yeah, same here.
having exceeded the healthy BMI some years ago. Uh, as you may not know, as much as I do, Brooke, the older you get, your metabolism slows down, so you need to actually eat less
Oh
than you
yeah.
did in former years because
I am painfully aware of that.
and so I didn't, I always knew that it's you tend to gain weight over the years, but I didn't exactly know why. I thought, well, maybe it's I didn't even know why. So then it eventually hit me that, well, you just need to eat less because you're not doing as much energetic things, so you don't need all that energy. So but that's the trick, because once you're eating, for decades, X amount of potatoes and meat or whatever, it's hard to cut down, because then you think, well, gee, I'm not getting enough because I've been eating, you know 2 cups of mashed potatoes for years, so whatever.
Well, I'm kind of pushing out of the book again, but I do think as if you really are focusing on this book instead of just in one element, but in all of them, I have been studying through Dr. Mao's father, this concept of kind of revolving eating through the seasons, and you can do that through also the elements. And I've been finding it a lot easier since same, as I'm getting older and trying to not, kill my body with exercise 24/7. I have been finding, I've only started in September, so I haven't even made it a full year, but I try to pick my foods based on the season and what would be good. So like in the summer season, you're supposed to eat bitter and cooler foods, lots of fruits, bitter salads like arugulas and things like that. And I guess because I've been doing that, it has helped me keep my weight down and my BMI down, because I guess instead of just focusing on how much you're eating, you're kind of eating the appropriate foods for, I guess, the activities and the way your life is during these seasons. And I have found that fascinating. I'm hoping that as I continue doing that through the years, I will see that I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier and it won't be so mundane like all these diets and calorie counting that we tend to get caught up in.
Right. Yeah, that's good advice. And I think that the seasonal foods fits in with the ancient wisdom as well, because obviously, if you're out on the farm or whatever, you couldn't be eating, winter stuff that goes in the summer during the winter unless you canned it or something. Yeah. So there's a. I got I'm not sure if it's showing here, but I put a BMI calculator chart up on the screen. And it may be that can you see it, Brooke? Because I wasn't sure if you were able to see it or not last time I screen shared.
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so folks looking in later can reference that chart, and across the top it shows the body mass index from 19 to 40. Dr. Mao and everybody recommends it should be basically your BMI to be healthy should be between a 20 and under 25. So anywhere there and above that would be considered overweight, or obese when you get above 30, as I recall. And on the other hand, if you're below 19 or so, you're underweight, and supposedly that will cause you to have some bone problems or immunity problems because your body can't fight off diseases and so forth.
Yeah.
So roughly between 20 and 25. So you just look down the chart to see what your height is, and go across to see what your weight is, and then look at the top, and that tells your body mass index. And then likewise, if you want to find out what would be ideal for you, then you just look up at the top and go between 20 and 25 and pick a weight in between there.
Yeah.
For your height, and then you're right on the mark. And the only other alternative is to grow a few inches higher or lower. You would have to go shorter, wouldn't you? I can't remember the way you'd have to do. But if you can change your height, you can match your body index accordingly.
Put me on a stretcher.
Yeah, right.
Mine's, I'm looking at mine. It's pretty good. I was actually perfect in November, and then I broke my foot in December, and I'm not surprised. I think I'm just a touch. I think I'm at 27 right now, but hopefully once my foot completely heals, I can get back down to where I was.
Yeah. Now they have found lately that if you're over 65, it seems that you have a longer life if you're around 25 to 27, they say, but they're not sure why that is, or if it's going to be entirely true as they do more studies. Because it could be that the folks who tend to live longer just had good genes, and they just happen to be, growing heavier as they grow older. So the folks with the good genes live longer, and so that might be why it's showing that higher weight. But certainly for the vast majority of folks under 65, you want to stay between that 20 and 25.
Yeah.
Now, my mother, on the other hand, she is 92. And she has been overweight for nearly all the life that I can recall. Now, I think when I was in elementary school and maybe junior high, she was kind of a normal weight, but she has been overweight for years, and she's outlived everybody. So, you know, what can you say? I hope she has good genes, because that means I'll have good genes too. So whatever she's doing very well.
Yeah, I agree. Some of it is definitely genes, I'd have to say.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we've gone on for about, I don't know, half an hour or so now, Brooke. I thought we'd probably hold these to around 20, 25 minutes, just so people watching in the future won't get bored of just going on and on and on.
I
So
agree.
yes, so maybe we can continue next week on this idea of physical health and what to eat and so forth, and maybe even list some foods that you're eating you think are working for you, and what Dr. Mao suggests, and maybe other folks will be able to come up with a diet that seems balanced to them, and get them into a healthy future life as well.
I completely agree.
All right. Well, this is Brooke and Don once again on Sunday morning at 11:30, more or less, and we'll continue this next week talking about Dr. Mao's latest book, Live Your Ultimate Life. And I stopped sharing the chart there. I'm not sure if I'm back or not.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think
so anyway.
I don't think mine's worked at all, so sorry.
Yeah. I was noticing your video wasn't working, but obviously the audio is working fine, so no problem.
It's okay.
All right, so we'll see everybody next Sunday, and see you again next Sunday as well, Brooke, and have a great week.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
Bye now.